Show.
Let's go.
Everyone, as always, welcome to Game Beyond the Game presents Talk That Talk, inspiring conversation with professional and elite athletes where we inspire our audiences. We explore finding vision and purpose in life and discussing life's and tools to overcome life transitions. I am Sam Pierce II, your MC, and we're joined by founder Prince Daniels Jr. Prince, how you feeling?
Man, I am elated. Right now, I'm like revved up. I'm invigorated. I'm trying to maintain my composure, but I'm really
maybe next week.
I'm really feeling like super amped. I'm super happy that I have Joe here, man. Joe is incredible. So I'm great, man. I'm incredible. I'm turned on. I'm ready. Hold on. Let me pause for a minute. I'm not turned on.
See, listen,
that's okay, man.
Should I say I'm
show.
on?
Turned up and up.
It's a switch that you have to turn on when you go to play. Right? That's what turns you on.
Yes, man. So yeah, so I'm ready. I'm ready.
Awesome. The energy is just right. And you know, it's time for me to introduce our rock star guest like I always do. So today we are live talking with former NFL veteran Joe Tafoya. He spent 8 years in the NFL with Chi-Town stand-up, Chicago Bears, Seattle Seahawks, and the Arizona Cardinals as a defensive end. After suffering a career-ending injury, he transitioned into entrepreneurship and was a venture capitalist focused on distressed assets. He is currently in pursuit of a sustainable lifestyle, living as a farmer in the Pacific Northwest and an avid outdoorsman. We're going to talk more about that. Please, wherever you are, clap your hands, stomp your feet. Mr. Joe Tafoya. Joe, how are you feeling officially?
Man, as soon as I got on with you guys, I was just building a greenhouse. You know, we're like lifting up heavy things, moving stuff around. I'm kind of sweating and tired. And then as soon as I get on with you guys, my energy just changed, man. I feel great.
Appreciate you. I want to also let you know that I am underachieving. So after this interview, I'm going out back. I don't know what it's going to be yet, but I'm digging something. I'm stabbing something. I'm definitely going to dig a hole. I don't know what's going to go in it, but I'm getting busy. I'm going to break a sweat this evening.
Yeah. I was sweating earlier, man. My face is a little red. I got a little gray. That comes with the territory, man.
I like it. Rugged.
Prince, you still got all that black. Are you using just for men or what?
Call it black magic. What's going on, Prince?
You know, I got one little gray beard. I guess you can't see it. I guess
don't pull it out.
You know, I'm not gonna pull it out, man. But it's like one gray beard in the middle, right?
Get yourself a staff, man.
Right. Joe, I'll be there just a little bit.
Yo, absolutely love it, Joe, man. Great to have you. So let's talk about it. Let's hop right into it. You know, did you always know that you wanted to be a professional athlete? I guess we'll start with there, you know, taking it back in time, junior high, high school. You know, did you love sports? Did you love the outdoors? Do you feel like you knew in the beginning, you know, kind of how the stars would align for you?
I've got a huge family, Hispanic. We come from Spain, actually. My lineage comes from Spain, and then we're native. And out in the California Bay Area, sports were a big thing growing up. I grew up watching the 49ers, Ronnie Lott, Joe Montana, you know, Steve Young, those guys. So it was a great time to be a fan. And my family really got together under that banner, and we found a way to always be with each other and celebrate and cheer for that team. So, of course, after the game, you know, you go out and you play in the yard, and all of a sudden I'm moving, you know, I'm playing with the older kids and knocking everybody down. And they're like, Joe, there's something different about this kid. I used to run on my tippy toes, you know, and all my uncles would be like, man, watch that one. He's crazy. And then they put me into baseball, and first year MVP, you know, did really well in baseball. And then I started, you know, getting a little older, and then the girls start paying more attention to you. So you want to go in the weight room, and all of a sudden I'm throwing crazy weights around. You know, it's like I'm very blessed genetically. 6'4". I got about, you know, 250-ish pounds on me today. But back when I was playing, I was like, you know, 255, 260 fighting weight. Yeah, I ran a 4.7 at the combine. And, you know, just always been really blessed genetically. Yeah. But I didn't love sports. My brother did. All my family loved that I was good at sports. And so that kept me in it, and it kept me out of trouble as well. You know, the Oakland Bay Area is not for everybody, right. But a lot of my family got into gangs and drugs, and this was my mother and my father kept me away from all of that by taking me to sports and like showing up for all my games and supporting.
You cut out a little bit, Joe.
Yeah.
My brother was calling me. He heard me.
Okay.
He tuned into that signal, man. My brother was calling me.
Yo, it's crazy.
Yeah, right. He's like, hey, tell him the truth, Joe. Whoop your ass.
Yo, I'm watching. And Joe, no.
But yeah, again, I mean, I had an older brother who used to beat me up. And so when I go out to play in the games and play with everyone else, it just seemed easy, you know?
Just seemed easy.
It's easy. He's 3 years older than me. He used to beat me up. So no, I didn't always love sports. If you ask anyone in my family, they always thought, yeah, Joe's going to be like a forest ranger, or he's going to be some kind of outdoorsman. I was outside with a stick, you know, sharpening it up, trying to chase frogs or whatever.
It's funny that, again, that did not escape you, though, which we'll talk more about in a little bit. I also want to ask, and I'm going to throw it to Prince. What was it, you know, how important was it for your family to be at those games? Because you mentioned, you know, to keep you out of trouble, they had you in sports and them showing up at the games. How did that feel? What was it like having them there to support you in that way?
You know, the lower income families, they have a lot of pride. And the Hispanic families, you know, the ones that I grew up around, there's a lot of pride, a lot of bragging rights, especially my dad. And everyone's like, you know, Joe's the man, Joe's doing it big. And they were proud of that. And so I was proud to be that for them, you know, and that really drove that drove me to be successful. That really pushed me to excel in sports. Otherwise, you know, if nobody showed up for me, I probably never would have done it, to be honest. It seemed like too much. I hated practice. Hated people yelling at me all the time. I always wanted to fight everybody.
No, seriously, I'm like that takes a toll on you, man. When people yell at you and you're not used, you don't come from an environment of being yelled at, right? And then someone is yelling at you constantly. It's just like, and I'm not able to fight you back. So, you know, you bottle that in and you get angry, and you know, and when you have that platform, you know, you take it out on every person that you think looks strong, you know, that's weaker than you, all of the above. No one has a chance when they're in the same arena with you, you know. So I'm with you on that, bro. Like,
I met Prince recently. We were doing a clubhouse room together, and all the things he was saying just really resonated with me in my past life and in my current life. And so I appreciate hearing him speak. And we are of the same mind in a lot of aspects, which I don't find very often, you know, like we're warriors. You were born a warrior. There's no getting away from that. And when people see that you're a warrior, they push you in there into the battlefield. And that's what my family did.
Yeah. You know, that's an incredible point. Not just to know who you are, but then to step into it, which is a conversation that many folks don't have to, and the power in being able to understand who you are, where you're from, and what people see in you. It helps you become more of who you were meant to be. That's powerful, and obviously be able to wherewithal to live in that space and continue to grow with it. The other piece is, when did you know, hey, not only am I good, I'm the next level. Always, you know, we talk about this conversation, especially at a high level, professional athletes, the 1% of the 1% who are able to achieve at the level that you all do. It's a brotherhood and a familyhood all its own. When was the moment you felt like, I'm going to be a part of that?
Man, you guys are such a good combination of thought and spoken word. I love this format to me.
Man, appreciate it, man.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Thanks, bro.
You know, it seems unattainable when you're at the lower levels. You're looking up at these godlike figures, you know, the Joe Montana, Ronnie Lott, those type of guys that I grew up watching, and Derek Thomas. It seems like an unattainable goal until you see somebody close to you do it, and then you recognize, wait a minute, that it's not that unattainable. So I was playing at a high school in California called Pittsburgh High. And one of my friends, Reagan Upshaw, went to Cal Berkeley and then got drafted after 3 years in the first round. And he came back to our school to speak, and he said, Joe, you got it. You can be an NFL player. And that blew my mind. And then I started having these coaches and all this other talent scouts come into my school and, like, you know, really paying attention, pulling me out of class all the time. And, you know, during I think it was the year-end speech, my coach said, you're going to be watching this guy play again at some other level. And, you know, that's it. Just, you know. And they'll find you too. It doesn't matter how big the school is, they'll find you.
They will find you. Question. So what position did you play when you were in high school?
I was a Mike linebacker. At
Okay.
6'3.5" with a stork trying to cover the tight end on the seam route. That was
not your favorite time. I was about to say that I would not want to see you come through the gap.
No, not at 15, 16 years old, man. When you're invincible, you won't do anything.
Right. It will do anything. Yeah. Hit anything.
Man. Yeah. Go ahead, Stan. Go ahead.
Cool. Great. So, these transitions, you find yourself in the NFL. What was the biggest adjustment for you, let's say mentally and physically, once you made that transition?
Oh man, that was a very tough lesson for me. I had a shoulder injury coming out of college. So I was ranked as the number 7 defensive end coming out of college. And then I just dropped. And I became a 7th round draft pick. Tony Dungy picked me out in Tampa, which, if you remember, Tampa in those times, the early 2000s, they had the number 1 defense.
Loaded.
They were Derek Thomas, Simeon Rice, Warren Sapp, Anthony McFarland, Marcus Jones, Barber, John Lynch. These are all like legendary names. I got there, and there's a syndrome that we've been exploring recently called the Imposter Syndrome, where you get to a certain place in life and you don't feel like you belong. You feel like you're an imposter. Right. That's how I felt. I was like way out of place. I'm looking at Simeon Rice, and this guy's 6'7", 265. His arms could like touch the sky. He was
long.
He didn't have an ounce of fat on his body. After practice, he would have another practice and then have a trainer come in and train. I'm like, way out of my element here. Right. I don't belong here. I'm watching Warren Sapp maneuver his gigantic body through these bags in a way that no other human being has ever done. And I thought, what am I doing here? I never even wanted to play football. Now I'm here. But there's still that, that warrior mentality inside of you that it just keeps you driving and pushing forward. Yeah. And slowly you find your place. And that's what I did. I slowly found my place.
Wow, man. Wow. What was your routine like, man? Because, first you get into the league and you're observing everything. And now it's like, okay, you observe, and then, hey, it's time for practice. It's like, oh man, okay, we'll practice. All right, so let's move. Then you get a chance to see them. What was your routine like coming into the locker room? Was it more like I need to continue to study, or was it more like I need to take this bull by the horn and get ready because I belong here? At what point in time did you feel that you belong there?
That's a great question, man. I'm the type of person that I'll sit back in the back of the room, let the leaders lead, absorb as much as I could, take on any piece of information. I had 2 notebooks that were just stacked with my personal notes. I'd come in after everyone left and watch film and just watch these guys go. I'm watching them go through the bags so that I could look good going through the bags too. Not necessarily practice. You're not going to get a lot of reps in practice, but they watch. In Tampa, they were watching the film of us going through the bags, how your hips moved, what kind of impact you had on the bags, hand movement, eye placement, all those little things. And so I really focused in on that. And then when I got to a point where, okay, Joe, there's a special team opportunity for you. Then it was like, all right, whoever's in front of me, I don't care if we're best friends. I don't care if it's my mom. I was going to do some damage. And that's where you make a name for yourself. Okay, there's a little more to this guy than we saw. Right. Give him another shot. Let's see what he does. Put Marcus Jones in front of him. See what he does then. Okay, let's send him down the field and kick off. All right, let's put him in the game. And just slowly over time, like a salmon swimming upstream, you just fight your way, man, and just find any kind of way to get into the game and hold on to it. Wow, that was my routine, bro. Start from the bottom.
Started from the down. Now we're here. Yo, you said a couple points throughout our conversation already, and it just reminds me that proximity equals probability. This one's there. Proximity equals probability. You mentioned before, obviously, the support from home. Then you mentioned, the folks you're playing behind, the Simeon Rice, the Warren Sapps, the Lynches, all those folks. But being close to them and then emulating them, regardless of what the playing time is going to look like. And maybe this message is for those who will never be a professional athlete, but they're in life, they're in work. They're just trying to find that. How can I find by emulating, by watching folks who are crushing it, regardless of that opportunity? And certainly for elite pro athletes that are watching this right here, building the skills to prepare you for that moment. Proximity equals probability. This is going to be a difficult question, but what's one of the most powerful moments for you? Was there a powerful moment that sticks out to you right now? I'm going to say in your NFL career that you feel either that it made you or it broke you to lead you to making a better you.
Wow. That is a difficult question.
That's a difficult
but I want to address one thing is that you always focus on the things that you've done wrong. When you go back, you watch film, the coaches, they get the red laser dot and they pick the plays that you messed up on. If you do something extraordinary, they'll highlight that, but not always, and it's like expected of you. So when I think back in time and I think back, like one of the most reflective moments in my life that I come back to often. I was playing in a game against the Philadelphia Eagles. It was early in my career as a Chicago Bear. They had just pulled me up from the practice roster, and we're playing against Donovan McNabb. And our defensive end gets hurt, and so I go in as the backup, and I'm lined up against a guy named John Runyon. Now, this guy's got hair coming out of every portion of his body. He's Cro-Magnon. His gloves smell. When he touches you, you're just left with that scent of like vinegar. He was nasty as they come, man. And I remember going up against him, and I was tight. I wasn't ready for that moment. It was such a big moment, playoff game. I was not ready. And he punched me right in the face and just slammed me right on the ground. And I come back to the sideline, and my coach, out, you're out. And then they put somebody else in, and he didn't really do much better. But it was just that single moment that I thought about what would have happened if I would have like clubbed this dude Reggie White style and flipped him on his head. Who would I be then? what would have happened then? Because I had it in me, I know it did.
Right.
It just was that moment that escaped me. Now I had several other opportunities in which I capitalized on, right. But for some reason that one always just sticks with me because maybe it's like a combination of the essence of that man slamming me on the ground with the smell and the hair in the moment, But if I had, it changed me in the way that I never wanted the moment to get too big for me anymore, and when you work your entire life to have one of those moments and then you let it be too big for you, you cannot capitalize on it. No matter how hard you try, you're not going to be yourself. You're going to come out tight. You're going to not be able to, showcase your true potential.
Right.
And that was a tough lesson, man. Very tough because of my coach. We lost that game, which makes it even worse.
Because then you take all the blame. You're like, it was my fault. I shouldn't have never got slapped like that.
Yeah, it had very little impact on the game.
Right.
It had a huge impact on my life.
Yes.
You know those moments? You've had those moments.
Man, I had those moments all the time, man. That's another show, man. And
yeah,
so we're going to talk about that. But, man, yeah, I know exactly what you're going through, man. Like, where your mindset was. What? So at this time, did you have a family? Were you any relationship? So, my question, I want to deviate from our course and just ask you, like, do you think athletes should be in a relationship while they're playing?
I think if you are the type of human being that needs that close personal connection, I think it's paramount. I think you have to have someone to come home to cry on the shoulder, to be your beta self. You need to release some of that toxic energy
Right.
in a positive format. If you can't do it that way, then absolutely not. And I was in a toxic relationship coming up. I graduated from college in a relationship. We got engaged, and it was toxic. And we were both bad for each other, and it was bad for my spirit. It was bad for my career. And if I could go back in time and fix one thing, it would have just been, hey, this is the time I need to focus on myself. I cannot focus on you two, and you need to go do your thing. And I need, because it wasn't just her, like,
For sure.
everyone has that crazy ex. I definitely have one. I could blame a lot of things on her, but not everything.
That's awesome, man. Yeah. Like
Great question,
man. No, you're welcome, man. Like I like how you said that. Like a lot of people always blame it on the other person, as if they did not, spend time analyzing themselves and some of the things they could have improved. So like that was really a great answer, because a lot of people, what we have to understand is that we all go through something in life, but whenever you experience it with someone else, it's easy for us to put the blame on someone else and say, yeah, it was you made this happen. But in reality, it was us. And like you said, if you can go back in time and tell that person, like, man, I'm sorry, I cannot give you all of me, because this is where I am. This is where my focus is. This is where all my energy is. I think they will respect you so much more, and it'll leave that relationship open to heal and to remedy at some point in time. One other thing
that comes with age too, and I'm finally at a place in my life where I can look back and respect the place that I was in, but also understand the mistakes that I've made. And a lot of people take these trips and they use psychedelic drugs, and they have to relive moments of their life so that they can give themselves ultimate forgiveness. Some people don't need that. And I've it's not one way or the other for me. I just have finally come to a place where I'm feeling okay about life, and I know that I've made some mistakes in the past, and you got to forgive yourself, right? Just like the one we were talking about.
Yeah, I was just about to say it. Just about to bring it up. But before I do that, what was your coping mechanism from being in the game, since you didn't have anybody to go home to? Like, how did you cope? What are some of the things that you did?
I drank a lot of Jack Daniels. I drank lots of beer. Went out and partied a lot. Probably all the things that you shouldn't do. The things that really tear you down as a human being are not good for your body or your mind. Right. Drank a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Got you. Like that's what we do. Like we're in a violent sport, right? So you're either drinking a lot, you're either having a lot of sex, or you either on some drugs, right? And so that's the way that you cope with banging your body up like that. So that's good, because I want our listeners to understand that that everyone doesn't have the same vices, right? And we cope with things completely different. But there's no need to even judge anybody, because everyone has a vice. And and it's just like you insert, like, oh, okay, well, to cope with this, I'm going to have sex, or to cope with this, I'm going to do drugs, or to cope with this, I'm going to drink alcohol. So neither one of them is better than the other. It's just something that you do to help you sustain, longevity when you're in the game. So
it's easy to cover those things up too, like, oh, life is great, but that's just not real anymore. And I just don't care what people think about me anymore. So
there's so much freedom in that. It's so liberating to arrive at a place. So it must be, as you're saying that, it's so liberating to arrive at a place where you're like, I don't judge me, so I could care less if you do.
Yeah, they're not paying my electricity bill, so
not at all.
and certainly not having any parties in your amazing venue. So screw them. I love it. I wanted to say, you mentioned something back. So for folks listening, and Prince mentioned, everyone has their vice, but more importantly, the piece you mentioned, like, you have to do something or have someone. So for folks listening, watching, coming in contact with this, remember that part, especially if you are elite or you have any desire to operate at an elite level at anything. Doing it by yourself, having nothing to go back to or to pour into, creates this other galaxy of frustration and issue. So, and this is where I'd like to get into some of your pastimes now, if you will, because you mentioned before we talked about some hunting, talked about the farm. How did you officially go, you know what? I'm going to be doing some more hunting. I'm going to be doing some farm. Let me get my farm together, my barn. Let me do that. What was that transition like, getting to that point, saying, this is what I want for me now?
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Like, yeah. Okay. Like, when did you decide that you want to transition from the game and then decide you want to live this farm life?
So, I've been doing a fringe version of myself for a long time, where I've owned this piece of property for like 12 years now, and we've always had animals. I grew up with animals. We've always had horses here. We've had rabbits and chickens and turkeys and goats, and I got cats and dogs, and I'm an animal person, and I really enjoy being outdoors. Like I said earlier, I belong with the wild things. But that was not who I was presenting myself as. And it took me a long time, up until recently, to be honest with you guys, that I finally just accepted that frequency. And when you finally tune into it, you can be yourself. And it is very freeing. It's like, there are people, there are my people that like to do the type of things that I like to do. I don't have to try and impress anybody anymore. That's all over with. But it wasn't until recently, to be honest with you, that I finally accepted my true self and have forgiven myself for a lot of things. And I'm allowing myself to make mistakes, because in farming, you do make mistakes. And it's a much more peaceful and slow process to be a farmer than a venture capitalist, or someone who's in the startup world, or someone that's trying to achieve high levels of sport. So I damaged my body. My body has significant injuries. I've got potential mental conditions, and all of those things I recognize. And when you are living a fast lifestyle and you feel yourself making those mistakes, you don't want to be too hard on yourself, and if I make a mistake here, it's not really that big of a deal. We can fix it. We can still continue to move forward. And I really feel like, this has always been me. I've always been an outdoorsman. I've always been someone who's in tune with nature and is a lover of animals. But I've always pretended to be someone else, a savage warrior who's, I'm a business mind. I don't have to do that anymore.
Be in the boardroom banging your fist on the table like congratulations, truly, because folks can spend a lifetime and still not arrive at a place where they get to be comfortable in their own skin and to share that with folks and do what actually makes them happy and get empowered, because to be yourself is an empowering. I feel like it's a superpower to some degree. And then you realize it's I always refer to the Matrix. It's like when you look at everyone else, you go like, no, they don't get it, or they're missing out on themselves. That as you get in more tap. Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, no, I wanted to make a point. And
please,
do you guys have kids? You both have kids?
Yeah, little ones.
So, this has been a beautiful time over the pandemic, that those relationships and bonds that we build with them are strong, and they're just going to last a lifetime.
Yes.
And when you can be your true self around your kids and allow them the freedom to be themselves also, it is such a beautiful thing to see what they blossom into. There's no pressure. You don't pressure them nobody's pressuring my son to go play football because he's good at it. I know what that's like.
Right.
I was not that. I damaged myself. It put me in a great financial position. I made a lot of great friends and met you all through this. So it's been beautiful that way.
Man. All right. So, man, okay. I got to get my questions in because I'm getting excited, but I'll calm myself down. So I want to go back to you accomplished in some incredible things in the professional league. When did you say, all right, it's time for me to hang up the cleats and, be okay with being a civilian?
That didn't really happen for me. I got ended. I didn't end myself. I got ended. I
Mm.
sustained an injury, a foot injury, and
Yeah.
it required a significant surgery. And when I come out of surgery, the doctor, he's the surgeon, he's looking through my chart and he's like, "Oh, Tafoya, okay, you're a football player. You probably won't be able to jump or run or do any things you used to do anymore. So you might want to consider a new career. Okay, come back in a couple of months."
No.
And it was like, I'm sitting there with my wife and I start crying and I'm like, who am I? I don't even know what to do anymore.
Oof.
You know, I've established this identity around this thing. And it ended for me as quickly as it began. Just boom, done. But I will say that the positive aspect of that is that I didn't continue to chase it. And I don't feel like I missed the opportunity to empty my gas tank, you know, because it was all empty. I was done. It was over, cut. Just move on and do something else.
Wow, man, you said something that was so powerful. Like, I didn't chase it, you know, and for me, that's what led me to my self-identity crisis and my depression was, you know, I wasn't chasing it per se, because at some point in time I had a realization after a year of working out at home every single day, 365 days of the year. And, you know, it was that moment where I was just like, dang, who am I? And why am I doing this? You know, because I realized like that opportunity is long gone. It was probably gone about 2 months into the whole year, but I stayed there and I just kept going. And it was this cyclic thing where I just couldn't stop. I was hoping that somebody was going to call me. And so I didn't get a chance to hang it up at the time that I wanted to hang it up or leave on my own terms. And so, which led me to a depression. And, you know, a lot of people go through depression. And now one of the things that we're really focusing on is mental health. Right. And so I experienced a great deal of mental health just because I didn't get a chance to leave on my own time. And for you to be able to say that and share that, like you were able to leave, you know, you were able to wash your hands and say, all right, I'm good. You know, I'll be okay with just finding who I am, you know, after this game is over, just whatever the wind may take me. And so now that you're doing what you're doing, is there any advice that you would give to someone that's looking to make a transition out of the game, that probably doesn't have the same opportunity as you, or has that same opportunity as you?
Yeah, the biggest piece of advice that I could give someone is to leverage the network that they've built, because there are some incredible opportunities when you come out of that sport, when you come out of sport in general, to dive back in and redevelop some of those relationships that you built. You never know. You never know who is in your network. You know, there could be a fan who's a big time money person who might be the right person you need to talk to. If you treat them like an asshole when you're playing the game, that's how they're going to treat you when you're done with it. So it's like my biggest piece of advice is, if you want to go back in and tap into that asset that you spend a lot of time building, which is your network, harvest it, develop it, you know, invest in it, be a good person, be available, show up on time, show respect. Those are all things that, you know, that doesn't cost you money, doesn't even really cost you time or even pieces of yourself. Just be a good person, and you watch how that investment pays off for you in the end.
It's like, quite simply, respect is the ultimate currency. You know, people.
It escapes us now, though, doesn't it? I mean, I even still have the guys that I work with now. I'm the president here in the North for the Alumni Association. I'll set up events for them to show up at a casino, make $2,000-$3,000 just to make a half an hour appearance. They won't show up on time. They're making me call them as their secretary or whatever. I mean, all of that time has passed. It's time for you to be a human being. You know, you're out of the realm of an inhuman person anymore. Now you're be a human being and be responsible and respectful.
Yeah, quite simple. It's if you don't mind, I think, as you talked about, you know, all the points that you touched on, then the hunting and kind of it's always been with you. It reminds me of like getting back to the basics. Like, that's like getting back to the basics, what's important, and, you know, wildlife, being an outdoorsman. knowing now that you've gotten back to, let's say, the original you, and that feels good, what's some advice that you would give to the younger version of you? If you happen to be walking down the street and ran into, middle school Joe or high school Joe, what's some advice? What's some advice that you would give to him?
My mother was a very spiritual person. She passed this last year with Alzheimer's, dementia.
Loss.
She was a hugely important person in our community. She initiated a program in our small community of driving this trailer full of Indian artifacts, Native American artifacts, to all of the local elementary schools. And she would teach children about the heritage of the Native American heritage. And I was always so embarrassed. And I look back on that now, and what a blessing that was. First of all, that everybody knows me because of my mom, the Indian trailer lady.
Yeah.
But I would say, be yourself, Joe. That's who you are, and appreciate the hustle that your mom's putting in. Appreciate and live that passion that's inside of you. She'd take me to Native American powwows. We'd make bow and arrow in the backyard. I mean, so that's where really it all comes from is that element. And I would spend as much time as I could with her before she passed.
Man, thank you for sharing that,
Yeah.
Joe.
Bro,
Thank
you make me proud, man.
Yeah, man. This is a great show. You guys are just diving into it, man.
Yeah, hey, man, that's what
You
it's
helped
about.
make it that way.
Yeah,
You helped make it that way.
yes.
Prince, any thoughts from you?
You know it, man. You know it. Yo.
I got a question for Prince when you're done. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. What do you what do you want your legacy to look like? What do you want people to say when you pass? I already know what I'm gonna say, man. It's like, don't you say anything about my bro. But like, what do you want people to say about your legacy, and what do you want it to look like?
Well, it's gonna come in the form of human beings. My children are my legacy, and when you look at them and you see how in tune with themselves they are, and how many good qualities they have, that will say everything it needs to say about who I am. And so that's when I leave my legacy, they're going to be living beings, and that blood that flows through their body, just like Chief Cherokee Joseph Tafoya back in 1892 out on the Pueblo reservation. He was the chief of his tribe. He left that blood, and that blood is flowing through me, which will then flow through my children and their children, and that will continue on.
Chief.
We're chiefs. We got chief. Chiefs. What's yours, Prince?
Man. Now. Okay, what's my legacy, man? The same thing, man. That blood running through. It's gonna come in the form of my children, right? But it's also that he helped impact and evolve mankind, and just period. That's it, Hey,
well, I'll say this, man. In the short amount of time that we've known each other, which has been very short, you have already impacted my life. I think about that conversation we had the other day often. I'm not even lying to you. I think about it often. That's awesome, because there are few people in life that you come across that will make that impact. And when they do, and it's just such a memorable thing, it's burned in there.
Right.
That type of human is the one that will leave a legacy, and that will you'll be reminded of that. Man. And just briefly want to touch on it, just because I'm sure people might be curious about it.
Yeah, I was about to say we gotta draw the people in. We gotta tell them. Yeah. So briefly, we were in a room and we were talking about reaching your greatness and being in the zone. And so I got up and I got on stage and I started speaking, and I was just talking about being in joy and being in love, being in bliss and being in the zone, all the same thing. And Joe and I, we were DMing each other on Instagram, and he was just like, man, he said, I love what you said. That was beautiful, man. But I don't feel the same way. And he was just like, I actually feel like when I feel destructive, I feel like I'm in the zone, right? And when I'm angry, and I was like, share that, and I, so the thing was, he didn't understand when I said what I said, it was more like, oh, it's joy. But I told him, like, I understand that there's a balance between things, right? So everything is not always joy. There's going to be some moments where it's not that enjoyable. So you got to live into that too. So you treat those moments in the same way that you treat the joy, the destructive moments. And I told him, I was like, man, you share that stuff. And when he did, I was just like,
and you said it's one and the same, Joe. Like it's one and the same. The joy and the anger and the pain and the love, it's one and the same. It's all part of the same thing. And that just really stuck with me, man. And because I had not seen it that way. I'm like Bruce Banner when I'm walking around, a normal guy and everything. But there's a green monster in there that comes out when I need him to. You hate him sometimes. You don't like what he does.
but he saves you. Need him because he saves you at the right moment, and a lot of times, that was the beautiful thing that I really enjoyed about playing at a very high level, right? Because once you tap into your anger, you realize, like, I could do a lot more, and it was a perfect platform for you to be destructive, during that time period. Right. And then afterwards, you kind of go and live your life. But then when you come back, you get another opportunity to do the exact same thing. And that's when you really start internalizing your greatness. Right. You start realizing, like, man, like, I just did this and I was angry, so you actually tried to make that into a habit. And then after a while, it just kind of like fizzles out because anger cannot sustain you to be able to do the things that you need to do in life. So you start realizing, like, you got to get into the flow of things instead of just being angry, because, there's a lot more energy that's not driven by anger, that allows for you to get into the zone. And so that's what I was just saying. It's like, it's the same thing, we just learn how to tap into it, like in a way of, like, because you constantly have somebody telling you, what you can't do and yelling at you, like, are you stupid, son? It's just like, why are you talking to me like that? And like, am I stupid? Let me show you. I'm a grown man now. I can break your bones, right? And so, but it's your team, it's your organization, right? So teamwork makes the dream work, and so you have to comply with the rules in order for you to win a championship, right? So, but if that wasn't the goal, you would be like, Coach, let me ram this up you. Eat these words, right? So and that's why,
there comes a moment when you can self-reflect also, and it could come early in life, it could come late in life, but it was like that moment when we were talking, I was reflecting on my life, thinking it took a lot to piss me off, but as soon as I got pissed off, watch out, everybody, watch out. And when you're like, that you can't sustain that, you're right, you cannot sustain it, you'll be injured, you'll do things to yourself and to other people, and it could be all negative. But there's a way to find that zone in love and joy and peace, and I find that in nature. And so that's where I like to spend my time now rather than the other way.
Man, the most powerful word is in, because whether it's spelled I-N or E-N, what I realized from my years of contemplation is, like, there's a lot of things that come out of I-N and E-N, like in joy, in love, in bliss, in the zone, in nature, right? So you're in it. And once you're in it, you're like, you've entered into a space. And the minute you become aware of everything that's going on and aware that you're in the zone, that you're in joy, then you're like, damn, I'm living. Like, oh, like, does anybody else see this? Like, and it's not until you actually talk to people that have experienced that and they share that experience, and you're like, yo, I thought I was the only one, and it's not. It's, and so, like, dude. All right.
The movie Soul came out recently, and my kids and I watched that, and I felt it. Like, okay, you're in your element when you're out in the woods.
Yes.
And it's not just me. Like, other people can feel that way too, whether they're in the woods or they're playing music or they're playing football or they're doing podcasting. Like that's the best version of yourself.
Yes.
And that's how I feel like being in the zone is.
Ooh.
Congratulations. And you mentioned it just spoke to me like, an angry mind cannot think.
Yeah.
So that ability to be able to reflect and
Hulk smash.
Yeah, right. Have you seen the more recent Avengers with the sophisticated Hulk? Like where he's kind of like he's great. Yes, it's like that. Yes, like that is his balance. Like I'm good. I now if I need to do so, I can, but I'm good.
Well, yeah. And in all honesty, boys, part of the reason why I'm tuning out everything else, like social media and like not talking to people, is because I do feel like that weird, Incredible Hulk wearing the glasses. He doesn't fit in. My animals get it. Some of my friends get it. I'm like the big, sipping the little kind, worried about breaking the channel.
Right, like to laugh loud, maybe. I don't know, whatever. It's like, am I weird? Am I weird?
Well, who cares? Yeah.
Man. Yeah. It's amazing. It's funny. Again, as I said, it's sometimes the light bulb goes off and you go, man. And for some folks, when you do arrive at that moment that you've arrived at, and as we continue to, sometimes I just hope that other people find that for themselves too.
Right.
And
so
that's
man.
Yeah, it's truly a bliss.
It's such a relevant thing.
We got a comment. We got a comment from Cedric D. Edison. And he said, after experiencing hypermasculinity at an elite level, suppressing a lot of things, what advice would you have for young males that are navigating their journey of being a man? Whew, that's a great question, Cedric.
I can't wait till you answer that one, Prince.
I like that pass. You sure you weren't quarterback? That was a good pass. Little option.
Hey, I'm going to lateral this back to you.
I will answer this because there's this weird expectation for you to always be masculine and always be the man. And Joe's been to the mountaintop. He's seen what it looks like. Let's go back there.
Right.
You don't always have to be that. You can. There is the alpha and the beta and the omega, and there's like different versions of yourself that you can be and still flourish. And it's hard to express to young men that you don't always have to be the man. Right. Now, after it's beat into your head for so long, and you're at a level where you expect it of yourself and other people expect it of you, to back away from that, it's not an easy thing to do, but you can do it. And it comes with support in the form of people who trust you and you trust them, and that they believe in you and your journey and what the things are that you're doing. And when you get to a place where you find somebody that supports you, treat them right.
Yo. That's the brilliant, simple, but real last statement too. You find someone that helps you, supports you, believes in you, treat them right.
Treat them right.
Yeah. And,
Love that.
I hope that helps, Cedric.
Yeah, most definitely. It should. He should leave a comment, but like, yes, that helps. I'll say, meditation, right, is, I always talk about this. Like, if we can start teaching our children this at a younger age, just learning how to spend time with themselves and just be with themselves and not be so fixated on being entertained, then they will find gratitude and appreciation in the boredom and being bored, and then once you can find gratitude into that, or in that, once you come out of that boredom, everything around you becomes alive and you're like, wow. And so you start appreciating the small things, which builds your character. And when you do that, whenever you enter into an arena with all these gladiators and you just this hyper masculinity space, what happens is you realize and remember who you are because you took the time to spend time with yourself at a young age. Yeah. And so that carries over into your adulthood. And when you see other men losing themselves, because they feel like I gotta live into this, this masculinity. I'm a leader. And, because what happens is when that leader meets his match, he's like, oh, he starts doubting himself. And the man that has spent time with himself never doubts himself, because they know, they don't put themselves in a position where they cannot win. Right.
Dude, I like that so much.
And so it allows for you to maintain a level of balance. So yeah, just practicing a practice of meditation, whether it's just like 1 minute a day, 2 minutes or 3 minutes, it's just something that keeps you calm and allows for you to stay, spend time with yourself, because we don't spend time with ourselves after our adolescent days, years, right?
So true.
Once that time is over, boom, like now you're looking for companionship, within someone else, and like someone to champion you, as you go through this journey. But when you consistently check in with yourself, you be like, man, you actually cool. Okay, all right. And you stop being so hard on yourself. You start telling yourself what you cannot do, and you start telling yourself what you can do. And when other people tell you that you can't do something, then you remind them, but like, that must be you, because I don't feel like that. So I'm gonna keep moving forward. So that's my answer.
That's great advice, man.
Man,
it comes with age, man. All right, Cedric.
It comes with age. Man, yeah, right. Yeah, for sure, man. Come on, Cedric. I hope we answered your question, man. That's awesome.
That's great.
Absolutely powerful. And to be able to operate at different levels of you. That was an amazing point. Both the combination, both answers are absolutely amazing. And to know, because just to know that you don't always have to feel like, again, you are the alpha in some kind of situation, or you can just operate in being the chameleon of you and stepping back, being observant, seeing how things work and move. And the ego plays an interesting trick on us as well. The ego exists for a reason. Like the ego exists to keep us alive, make sure that we're okay. It's going to keep us smart. Our brain, wants to keep us alive as well, which is in part the ego that will tell you, hey, relax. It's not worth losing everything for it. Hey, you can't win this. You should probably step back. Hey, relax. And sometimes we fight those instincts and find ourselves in compromising situations. Yeah. So understanding that the ego sometimes is not your amigo, but ultimately knowing that pride is expensive. And be willing. I love that combination of both those answers. As
you got some bars, Stan.
I've been working.
I've been a great listener too.
I've been working.
Not your amigo, man. I never heard that one, but that was nice.
Appreciate you big time. Been working on some new things over here.
Nice,
appreciate
man.
you. Yeah. Any final thoughts, man? Thank you so very much, Prince. Any final thoughts? As we get ready to close.
No, man. Just keep letting your light shine. Like man, because you have used your spirit, whether you know it or not, to inspire me to continue to keep doing what I'm doing, man. And
good, man.
just for that, bro, we never played together, but like, man, dangerous. And, like somebody like you,
I know who you are.
Right. Like I would love to meet you in the hole. So we can just, you gain that mutual respect right away. Like, that was.
I've already had enough concussions though, bro.
If you could just go low, just go.
I did too, man.
I know who you are, Prince. I've played with your energy once or twice in my life. I've definitely come across you in some other dimension somewhere. We've encountered each other somewhere.
Most definitely, man. But no, I just want to say that super proud of you, man. I love what you're doing.
Thanks,
man.
Like, you too.
I want this friendship to grow beyond this, man. So
listen, I'm in the Pacific Northwest. This is the farm. You can come out anytime.
Me and the family are coming. Let's do it.
Tune in. We'll go fishing, whatever.
Man, let's do it. Me and the wife and the kids, we're coming out there, man. So
got room for you, man.
Man, that's awesome, man. I'm loving that. We're gonna be there and be like, Stan, what's up? What you doing, man? You ready to
Stan. I listen to all of our stories.
I appreciate it. I'll definitely listen.
Man, I just want to read what Cedric said. He said, thank you all for showing up, being vulnerable and transparent, showing and sharing love with the world. Someone out there needed y'all's message today. Oh man, we appreciate you so much.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Man. Thank you, Cedric, for sharing that.
Joe, any final thoughts from you, man? Joe, anything you want to leave us with?
I've heard the term vulnerability more recently than I have maybe my entire life. And maybe that's a message that's coming in my frequency, that maybe I need to be a little more vulnerable and start telling people, the real, what's going on inside, because we all share those same experiences. And I'm definitely going to start doing it more. And you too, I want to encourage you to continue the show. And Prince, continue to reach out and connect with people and share the message, the yin and the yang, whatever it is that you're telling people, whatever it is that you told me, it just stuck, man. So I encourage that.
I will, brother. I will. Thank you so much.
Many, many thanks. And you mentioned vulnerability. And in its simplest term, for those who are having a difficult time trying to understand what that word means, in its simplest definition that I can give, it's like, be willing to put the weight down. Whatever that weight may be, physically, literally, emotionally, spiritually, economically, be willing to put the weight down. Yo, this has been amazing, and absolutely thank you, Joe, for you've had a long day. You've been building, killing stuff.
I got to get back to it.
Thank you so very much for joining us, taking time out of the day for sharing your story and being so transparent. For those of you all watching, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to the Prince Daniels Jr. YouTube channel. And you can join us here next week on Game Beyond the Game Facebook Live every Tuesday, 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's been Stan Pearson II. I heard it first. Appreciate you all.
Y'all have a good one, man.
All right.
Peace.
All right.